To Queen's Park next, where the province's response to the so-called Freedom Convoy protests remain a point of contention.
Specifically, what's happening now in the aftermath of the demonstrations. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Colin DeMello is live with more. Colin.
Well, Michelle, during the height of the Ottawa occupations, police were given new powers to seize trucks and license plates of those who were in the occupation. But those powers were temporary. We learned today the keys were actually given back to those in the occupation, leading to questions about what consequences there were for those who took part. At the height of the Ottawa occupation, Premier Doug Ford promised to crack down on the convoy by taking away vehicles and license plates. In all, 12 vehicles and dozens of passenger and commercial plates were seized. Today, the government revealed, however, those trucks are back in the hands of the occupiers.
The emergency tools that we provided law enforcement allowed the OPP on the ground to immediately suspend and tow vehicles. With a 7-day expiration period, the actions taken by the OPP to remove these vehicles could not be appealed.
The government claims if the suspension period was longer than a week, they would have been challenged in court, hampering the policing efforts during the occupation. But the opposition immediately pounced, accusing the Premier of letting the occupiers off the hook.
After a single week, the Premier has given the keys to those occupiers back for their trucks. So how on earth could this Premier ever say that he took this occupation seriously when he's handing back the keys without a single penalty?
The government says the actions taken will have long-lasting consequences.
Any suspensions processed remain on the vehicle record and could affect the renewal for licenses in the future.
When the Premier declared a state of emergency on February 11th, he also promised to create a new law that would make it illegal to block critical infrastructure.
While these emergency orders will be temporary, we have every intention to bring new legislation forward that will make these measures permanent in law.
But the government was warned they could face constitutional challenges, and provincial insiders are indicating the government might back away from legislation. Today, the Premier would not commit to a new law.
We just don't do it overnight after we, drop the state of emergency. We'll come up with a proper plan, but we're going to make sure that there's a real deterrent for anyone to do this again.
The government's critics say it leaves the door open for the occupiers. Now, when the Premier declared a state of emergency, it was to protect critical infrastructure such as highways, border crossings, and airports. It's unclear exactly what that plan is going to look like in order to secure those facilities. It is important to note, though, that the danger levels or the threat seems to have dissipated to a degree because all of the protections around Queen's Park and Hospital Row, those were removed earlier this week. Reporting live at Queen's Park, I'm Colin DeMello. Now back to you.